A knee specialist. A one-trick pony, right? Not at the Christ Hospital Health Network. We have integrated specialists for every area of orthopedic surgery, like perfecting your golf swing again, night strolls with your partner, or walking your daughter down the aisle. Everything it takes to get your life back. We specialize in that too. The Christ Hospital Health Network, everything it takes.
The Pound This Podcast is brought to you by the Christ Hospital Health Network. This is the Pound This Podcast, episode 829, Amanda's Diary, to lose weight or to not lose weight.
I want to lose weight, but I don't know how to get started.
What should I meal prep every week?
How do I get those sweet booty gains?
Inspiration for your healthy lifestyle. The Pound This Podcast with Amanda Valentine.
What up, friends? Thank you so much for listening to the Pound This Podcast. I am Amanda Valentine, and this is my diary, and it's my birthday. So I thought I would do a quick catch-up episode on all of the things going on with me. As last year on my 40th birthday, I did my all-day live podcast wellness event birthday party. And here we are a year later, where a lot of stuff happened between 40 and 41. And I know I always get so much feedback from everybody listening that everybody loves these diary episodes. And I'm like, oh man, it just feels like so narcissistic and weird to just dump everything going on in my life, to a filtered degree. I'm not telling you guys everything. Come on. So I was like, man, this is a good excuse for me to do a diary episode. So if you're brand new here, thank you for listening. This is basically just going to be about me, everything going on in my life with my own health and wellness, with everything that is Amanda at the moment. So if you don't care about that, you can go ahead and skip this episode. Don't have to listen. But man, yeah, I was just even thinking about stuff to talk about. And I mean, there's just so freaking much. Again, it's just been a wild year and so much change. And that has played such a role in my own health and wellness with my body image and body changes and self-esteem and, just all of these things and changing routines and changing habits. Because in the last year, so I even wrote a list. I've been writing a couple lists. I'll tell you about the second one here in a minute. You can hear my page turning because I'm old school and take like handwritten notes. But I was just talking about the things that have happened since my birthday last year, which at the time of recording, it is August 8th, 2003. And in the past year, I have learned how to swim. I've this time last year, I had just started working at the YMCA, and I don't work at the YMCA anymore. So like, there's already like another job change. Like I just started working at the Y July last year, which was great, but I don't work there anymore. So there was another job that I quit. So that also happened in the past 365 days. But as a kid, I almost drowned a few times, and I just had like this fear around water where I couldn't touch. So I knew how to like doggy paddle, but I don't know like how to swim, and still it just like freaked me out. So I'm like, I'm working at the Y. I should take adult swim lessons, which highly recommend. If you are in the Cincinnati area, especially Powell Crosley YMCA, Chris was my instructor, and she's absolutely amazing. But I would highly recommend if you're an adult, like, and you want to know how to swim, take swim lessons. It's not just for kids. And I did so much better than I thought I was going to do. So I was really proud of myself for like learning how to swim. And then while I was working at the Y, I would swim. I tried to do as many mornings as possible, which is, just hard with work and everything else, but like swim a mile. So I was going to try to join the masters team, like the swim team. And I'm like, I am not built for that. There's math, and I don't want to math while I'm working out. Like, no, thank you. I don't want to math ever, to be honest with you. So that, and I'm like, I just don't like being timed. It gave me so much anxiety. Like I could power through, like with Chris, my instructor, I was like zooming, I was kicking ass. And the moment that she's like, put a timer on me, like I seriously stopped and like had like an anxiety attack, and felt like I couldn't breathe, and I felt like I was going to sink. So I was like, ooh, there's something right there. Don't do any more of that. How about I just do my thing and swim laps in my own time, which I mean, I would swim a mile within an hour and felt great and had an awesome time. So do your own thing. There is a lesson in that too. Whatever fitness means to you is just doing whatever feels good. And I will also say about swimming at the YMCA, at least in my experience, again, there's Ys all over the country, so I can't speak to every branch of the Y, but I like talk about a place that was like no judgment of like walking around in a swimsuit or feeling any sort of self-conscious and body image. Like everybody is so supportive. Nobody is paying attention to any of that. And if they are, like, it just doesn't, it's not the vibe. You know what I mean? Like you've gone to pools and you have felt like the judgment and the vibe and like, oh, I don't even want to be here. I'm not even going to swim because I don't want to get in a swimsuit. I have totally been there. And at the Y, I didn't feel that at all. Like, Mike, I don't even care. Chris recommended to get like one of like more like a professional swimming swimsuit. And I was like, this is a little bit more revealing than the swimsuit I use. I'm like, can't I have a padded bra in it? And she's like, no, you can't have pads. I'm like, it's still, you're just like, well, whatever. Like everybody's just doing their thing. So that was a cool experience. So far I've covered in the past year that I quit a job. I learned to swim. I started a new job. So working at the Cincinnati Nature Center. So I started working there in April. So there's another big shift and in working in a field that I have never worked in before. And I'm just learning so much. I also bought a new house on my own, which was exciting and awful in this market, which this market's just bonkers. And I talked about this in a previous diary episode where I definitely cried. And maybe I'll cry in this episode. We'll see. I don't know. I've been crying a lot lately about various things. So I might be cried out, but probably not. We'll see. But anyway, that I was able to purchase this house. And I'm recording this podcast in right now solely based off of the money I have made from having my own business, including this podcast since I left the radio industry in 2020. So to me, that was incredibly powerful that I'm like, I created this thing and it's been so meaningful that I've been able to like figure things out through sponsorships and stuff like that to have, to have enough money within my business basically to use to be able to like put down the like insane down payment that you have to do to get a house. And that is just because you're listening to this. So thank you. Like I couldn't do that if people didn't listen to this podcast. So that's incredibly meaningful and moving to me. So that was really big. And then selling my old house, because also in the past year, my divorce was finalized. So that's happened in the past 365 days, and that's been one hell of a journey. And so selling the house that we had together, and, I agreed, like, it was my idea of, like, I'm going to, like, let me find a place and I'll sell the house in 2023. And then we split everything with the house because we split it when we lived there. So then it was definitely interesting selling the house because I feel like both of us were doing a pretty good job of healing. And then that just like really kicked open some wounds for us to like say like the final goodbye to our house. But like we were very like honest and open with each other of like, I'm struggling. And then we're both really struggling. So like, let's just talk this out. And it's all been very healthy and really good. So like, even though like we're divorced, we have thoroughly discussed our grief through that and how we're like healing and how we're growing and how we're moving forward and what we've learned, which is just like so cool to be able to do that, to be like, hey, we both needed this in different ways and we weren't able to grow in these really important ways together, but both of us have grown so much. Like he's doing so awesome. He's just kicking so much ass. That those things wouldn't have been able to happen together. And that's hard. It's hard, but it's also being like, well, the right decisions were made. Again, this podcast is all about, growth and living your best life. And And sometimes those require really hard decisions. See, here I'm crying. So that's where, like, when you think of like any sort of doing what's best for you or making life changes, like that are for the best, doesn't mean that like all of them are just all kittens and rainbows and sunshine. Like, come with like really hard decisions and really hard things, but that doesn't mean that they aren't the right thing or something really beautiful comes out on the other end of it. Because, you know, I love the quote, the Frederick Douglass quote of, without struggle, there is no progress. So it's like you kind of have to struggle and you kind of go through the mud and the yuck and do some painful stuff to grow. And for me, I would prefer to grow than to stay stagnant. So that's just the kind of person I am. I am definitely a growth-minded person. So, you know, for me, including just really hard things in the past 3.5 years, like leaving an industry and a career that was really deeply important to me because I just felt like this is the time to move and this is the right thing for me. And this is going to be healthier for me to get out of like toxic environments. Is so much better for my mental health and growth moving forward. It was really, really hard decisions and a lot of really hard growing pains, and same thing with relationships and everything too. So that's also happened in the past year. So that's happened since my last birthday. But also just like I wrote some other like just fun things. I just insane amounts of self-work. So I don't know how fun that is. But my God, have I learned so much about myself within the period of since my 40th birthday to my 41st of going through those really hard things. I mean, I moved to a whole other neighborhood too. I moved to a whole new section of town. So I moved to a whole new part of town by myself, got a new house by myself, sold a house essentially by myself, and left one job that I just started last year to start another one that felt like a better fit in moving forward. And that includes lots of learning and growth of learning how to do stuff I've literally never done before. So it's like every day it is just learning from, you know, level 1, which is mentally exhausting, to be honest. Like, it's great, but God, is it exhausting. And I'm very appreciative. I also just want to say, side note, of my boss that I've currently, like the bosses I've had in the past year, both of them are just amazing, amazing women that fully understand how much stuff I'm going through and how much change and how I'm really trying to work through it and feel it. And that's where I think all the tears come in, as I feel like that I numbed out from my feelings for so long, a lot with binge eating or over exercising, that I just really tried to like numb out from hard feelings for most of my life. And I realized that's not really helping me move forward. Like, I really need to feel stuff and look at look at myself of, where is this coming from? Is this serving me? Is this the way I want to live? And that's where my weight loss journey started in 2012 too. I was like, this doesn't feel like authentically me. This doesn't feel like how I want to live anymore. I don't want to binge eat every single night. Like, that doesn't feel like me. And then at the time I was like, I live in Colorado and I don't even go outside. That doesn't feel like me. So you got to make these really hard changes. At least, you know, I have, to live a life that feels more authentic to me. And this has just been more intense than losing weight. It has been gaining weight, to be honest with you. And I don't even know how much weight I've gained because I refuse to get on a scale right now. So that's where I feel like this is healthy, but it's a really struggle for me right now where I'm at with my body and my health, because I don't want to numb out or distract myself by becoming obsessive with the scale or become obsessive with losing the weight that I gained in the past year. Does that make sense? That I feel like getting really into that, because I know me, I'm a go hard. that will just be my version of the moment of numbing out. And I don't want to do that. Do I want to lose the weight that I have gained? Not knowing how much that is, but knowing enough that I had to buy new clothes and new sizes because all my old clothes don't fit, which does like, it's such a struggle because I want to say it doesn't make me happy, but then I'm also really struggling with, why does it matter? You know what I mean? Of like, that doesn't make me a less valuable person. Like, I am obviously like a strong, resilient, badass person if I have to buy a bigger size of clothes. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's an old program that's running through my head of, man, you're not doing so good because you had to go buy bigger clothes. And that, I don't feel like that's true. But the fact that that still runs through my mind, I don't want to act like that's not there. You know what I mean? I don't want to act like I'm making some Instagram post or some TikTok video about like, you know, like just being super body positive, and I still don't have those thoughts because that's not real. At least that's not real for me. And so I just want to be real about what I'm going through. But those feelings and thoughts come up, and then I sit and have a conversation with myself about it, which again, ain't fun, but it's helpful, you know? I'll have those feelings, or I'll see a picture of myself and I'll be like, oh God, that doesn't feel like me. And I'll be like, okay, why am I having these feelings? What am I going to do about this? And I think a point that I struggle with is that I know what has happened for me the past year. It's one of those things, which God, I've lived through this before. Like, well, one, I know that making really hard decisions and ones that were also just like very sad and emotional. Like, I'm such an emotional eater, and I felt like I really had that stuff under control for like a decade. You know what I mean? So like I felt really good about it. And then it was just like the punches that I gave myself, by the way, leaving radio career, which was really big for me, then COVID, and then figuring out what my new career path is as a person who always had like a singular goal that was just like a burning hot flame in my vision for my entire adult life. Like, I knew where I was going. I knew what I wanted to do. And I extinguished that flame and was like, nope, find another one. And I'm like, I did that to myself. So there's that, COVID, and then divorce and moving and job changes while I'm trying to figure stuff out, while also like working on myself and working through my own body image issues, and then like working through, I'm like, I have a podcast and social media that's based off of health and wellness and my body image, and how that felt like it messed me up in a lot of ways, to be honest with you. So like it was so hard not to go to this deep groove that's in my brain of like, eat to feel better. You know what I mean? So it was, you know, for the past year being at home at night alone, and I'm like, I am just going to zone out and watch TV and eat. So I have all of my clean eats meals, and I'm doing awesome during the day. You know how that goes. Oh, I kill it during the day, or I kill it during the week, and then the weekend's like, so it was being fine until it was like coming home and being like, and then just like, I'm like, I can't think about this stuff anymore. I need to eat. So going and buying a bunch of stuff to essentially kind of binge out so I could numb out. So that's what I've been doing, and that's where weight gain has come from. And I know exactly what it's from. Like, it's different than where my mindset was pre-2012, going through a weight loss journey and losing over 100 pounds and maintaining that for years and years. I'm like, I know exactly what I'm doing, and I'm like, and I don't care. I'm like, whatever I have to do to get through this hurts so bad that I'm like, I will just do anything to make this not hurt so bad, for even if it's just a half hour tonight. You know what I mean? So that's what I did. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'm like, I just don't care. I don't. like, I don't care how much weight I gain. I just don't want to, I don't want to feel this so hard all the time, you know? So now that I'm on the other side of everything, it's like, oh, like when I see pictures of myself or buying bigger clothes, which I totally had a breakdown and just bawled my eyes out in an Old Navy dressing room like a month ago. Trying on clothes, and I'm like, oh my God, how these things all look. And God, the lighting in Old Navy dressing rooms are just terrible. Fix that, Old Navy. And also just fix your sizing. Like, it's just so jacked. I know that's every store, but my God. Anyway, that I think for me a struggle, and again, I'm just being honest and sharing my own personal journey through that. So I'm like not saying this is universal to everyone's experience. Is like where I'm at now. It's not where I've been in the past where I'm like, oh, you're so fat, you need to be skinny. It's like it just looks like I'm like, oh God, I can just see my pain on me, you know? So I feel like that's where it's more of a struggle where I'm like, you know, I'm glad that I made there's a lot worse decisions I could be making. But it's also just like you're just like seeing my coping mechanisms, like it's a visual representation of my coping mechanisms, which I know plenty of people have lots of things they go through where they also have visual representations, and those things are hard. It's really hard to be reminded of those things. So I think that's where it's frustrating, and part of me is like, oh, I got to lose this weight. Like, like I want to get past this period of my life. And the other part of me is like, girl, like, just like, look what this body is getting you through. Like, this is awesome. Like, how are you saying that you're like, you need to lose weight or you need to be skinny or to be what? You know what I mean? So it's like these conversations that are this tug of war a lot in the moment. So that's where I'm like, I'm not weighing myself. I'm not currently weighing or measuring food or counting macros or counting calories or anything. I'm like, I just want to be really gentle with myself because I've been through a lot of like not gentle activity, obviously, as I described in the past year. So I'm like, I just want to do stuff I really love. I want to do stuff that feels really good. And as a person pre-weight loss journey, not talking like yo-yo dieting and all that stuff. Like, I'm just saying like 2012 where I made this decision. I lost over 100 pounds and changed my life. I was not a really exercise person at all. I was a person that took extra band classes to avoid stepping foot in the gym all 4 years of high school. So I, like, it's funny how like now the things where I'm like, okay, what really brings me joy? Like what feels really good? And it's like going bike riding. And I purposely wanted to buy a house closer to the Little Miami Bike Trail here in Cincinnati. And I did. So I'm really close to that. So I'm really excited to ride my bike more. And that was another thing that gave me a lot of fear, kind of like swimming. I got into a bad bike accident when I was in 6th grade. And it like really tore me up. And then I was really afraid of riding bikes after that. And I never really pushed myself to get past that until now. But I really like that. So I'm like, I really like riding my bike. I'm really hyped that I joined Trilogy Fitness Systems. And Matt and all the trainers there are so amazing, so I can lift. But I want somebody to tell me what to do, even though I was a personal trainer for 1.5 years and I'm currently still certified to be a personal trainer. Like, I have learned through that I'm like, I don't want to tell other people what to do at all with anything. I like this podcast because I can like give advice or have conversations, and I am never going to tell you what to do with your life or your decision. Like, I don't want to tell anybody what to do. Like I'll give guidance and support and make suggestions, but I don't want to tell anybody that this is the right or wrong way. I don't know if it's the right or wrong way for you. How am I supposed to know? I'm figuring out what's right or wrong for me. You know what I mean? So I don't ever want to act like I'm the expert. So I think I really struggled with that, being a personal trainer. And then I also really struggled with my own fitness through all of that. So I'm like, I like when somebody else just tells me what to do. And I have learned through that whole process and being a trainer that I will stand up for myself. Not that I need to stand up for myself. I can speak up for myself and have boundaries. Like, even at Trilogy, they'll be like, oh, can you do lunges? I'm like, I can't do lunges. My knee is too janky. I know myself. And in the past, I would just push through it and just like be in pain. And I know now of like, don't do that. Like nobody thinks like you're a weak baby, or just like get this workout in because you're so close to like losing another pound. You know what I mean? That, I know my body more in that area. I still really suck ass at stretching. So I'm like I know my weak spots. Like I know me real well. But I really love going to a really fun, supportive gym, and it's group personal training, which I really like. So it's not just like one-on-one. So you don't have to just sit there and have awkward conversation the whole time if you don't want to do that. Although I will talk everyone's ear off if you really get me. But when I'm working out, I actually just don't really talk to anybody. I'm like so in my head, in my zone. Like when I'm there, I don't have headphones or on or anything, but like I've never been a person that like wanted to run with other people or was really into just like doing workouts with other people. I don't know. It seems like such a solo activity for me personally. So I like that it's this. So it's like interaction and some fun and play and conversations, but also like I'm also on my own, which I also really like. And I can also be like, hey, am I doing this right? Or this feels funky. What else can we do? So I feel really good about like joining a gym I love, and I'm lifting 2 to 3 times a week. That feels really good. So I'm doing the bike riding, I'm doing the lifting, and then I hike as much as possible at the nature center, and then I like walking my neighborhood and learning my new neighborhood. And I always love walking. I am a slut for walking. So I'm moving my body a lot, and that feels really good. And then I challenged myself to see if I could run a 5K again, which I did, the Flying Pig 5K in May here in Cincinnati. And I was really proud of myself for trying running again. And I told myself that the moment my knee feels like stupid, either one of them, both my stupid janky knees, I'm like, we're going to dip on out of here. But I'm like, let's try it. I did. The podcast I originally learned to do like running with was the Chubby Jones podcast, which is so funny. It's so dated now because it's like from like 2011 and listening where she's just like, here's this new artist. It's Keisha with his $. I'm like, oh my God, I love it. But like it was really fun for me because that's what I did to like start running at the beginning of my weight loss journey, which I really loved and really enjoyed. And I probably wouldn't have liked running so much without that podcast, which again is like the power of like when you find a podcast and you like find your people. It's so cool, which is one of the reasons I wanted to do this. So shout out to Chubby Jones and the Chubby Jones Couch to 5K podcast. That it was just real fun. I might do it again. I'm doing the Queen Bee here in Cincinnati in October. And I'm going to walk it, but I might do some interval running just so I can listen to Mia's podcast. I was really proud of that too. So it's like this year has had some really like hard moments, but also some really, really bright spots too. And I've had the most supportive friends freaking ever through all of this process of, lots of hard discussions through divorce stuff, like stuff getting finalized and it's just like whenever, like same thing with the house being final, like what's like things are just like officially done. It's like, so like what, like you just put yourself in this mode to get stuff done. And then when it's like actually done, you're just like, what happened? Where am I? And also like just buying and selling a house, like that was. And then I painted both houses by myself. That was a butt ton of work. Like I've just done like so much crap in the past year. And that's where I also want to be like, why am I like upset about wearing larger pants? Like, my God, like I survived this. But moving forward, I want to continue just to do exercise and fitness. It just feels really good. The other list that I teased earlier was because I am 41 now, and let's see if I actually do this or not. I'm really good at coming up with ideas and then bailing on them sometimes. Like there's certain things where I'm like, if I said I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And I do that with a lot of stuff. And then there's other things that are like, this will be a neat idea. And then they just like, they just go away. I made a list, even though it's not finalized yet, of 41 new experiences I would like to have in the next year. And I made them like doable experiences. It's not like learn Italian and go to Italy. Like, I'm not going to do that. I did things like make homemade pasta. I've never done that before. Like, I could totally figure that out. I put in there play pickleball. Like, everybody plays pickleball. I don't know how to do that. Looks like ping pong. Ping pong seems cool. It was cool for Forrest Gump. It's good enough for me. What else did I put on here? I want to try mountain biking. I'm probably going to scream the entire time. Like, I don't know how that's going to work, but I want to try it. So that's totally doable. I put on here that I want to try fly fishing. And I also put like make homemade ice cream. I've never made homemade ice cream. That sounds legit. And I've thought about buying an ice cream maker. I'm like, if I buy an ice cream maker, I'm going to eat ice cream every single night. I'm like, I don't know if that is the best decision for me. Because like when I eat ice cream, I'm not like, I just had like one scoop. I am satisfied. I am putting the carton away. Is just like the joke I've made a million times, which is absolute facts and truth. I have never used a chip clip. If there is an open bag of chips around me, I don't care if it's family size. That thing's going to the bottom. I'm not eating that later. I'm eating that all right now. Same thing with ice cream. Like if ice cream, if I start, I am not stopping until it's all gone or I'm in like an extreme point of pain. I know that about me. And that's why like for like a hot minute, I was really on the Halo top because I could just like motor it all. Because again, like I just like this quantity volume eating. Says the girl with binge eating disorder. So like I know myself. That's where I'm like, hey, I'm not saying I'm not going to eat ice cream. I'm not going to take it out of here. I'm not going to take it away from myself. That sucks. I don't want to live a life without ice cream or chips. But I also know that when I'm going to eat it, it's going down. Like this is like going to a Nathan's hot dog eating contest. Like we're going to see like how we can push the limits on this. So I know that about myself, so we do that sparingly. And I try to do it as more like, I'm having happy ice cream time, not like, oh my God, my life, I need to eat ice cream. So anyway, those are some of the things like on my list. And so a lot of those are just like, yeah, I want to try like these like outdoorsy experiences. I want to move my body in healthy ways. And same thing with food of, I'm really entertaining the idea of like doing more of my meal preps again, just because I want them to like feel good and I feel excited about doing them. And I know a lot of people have contacted me wishing that I would do my meal prep process on Instagram again, because I know I did have a lot of fun with that, but then it became a lot of not fun for me. Especially I was going through really hard life stuff. Like it just was kind of terrorizing my mental health. And I'm like, I can't do this with that. So like, even I've done some meal preps on my own and I'm like, I just didn't feel like doing it on social media. And I feel like I have to honor that. Like, it's just, and it's sad. It's almost like, like if you eat chicken too long and then you're just like, oh, this is so gross. So like if I eat chicken one more time, I'm going to barf. Like, it's like I did this thing too much. Like I pushed the limits too much instead of giving myself more breaks. And now it just feels like I don't want to do it at all, which sucks because I had a ton of fun doing it. So maybe, kind of gently bring that back a little bit in an area where it's fun for me. Where it doesn't feel like, oh, I have to like turn it on and put on a show when I really just want to like cook my food and listen to like a podcast. You know what I mean? So I think that's what was really hard, where I'm like, oh, I'm fighting against what I actually kind of want to do, which is like be in silence or listen to a podcast or just listen to some yacht rock and cook, and instead of prepping it out and having fun for social media. Because sometimes that's fun and sometimes it's not. Sometimes I just want to listen to Michael McDonald and cook chicken titty. So I want to definitely do more of that. Clean Eats has also been just incredible through, life changes of moving and everything else, of having someone else cook for me. Is a hell yeah. And having more variety is amazing. So highly recommend Clean Eats in Newport. Been so great. And Brandon that owns that, and Justin, who's the manager, just really, really awesome, very good people. that just want to help other people. So if you're just wanting to like stop in for lunch or do like the frozen grab and go meals or do the weekly meal plan, like just highly recommend it. At least just giving it a try. Or even if you're just like, hey, it's like right now it's like back to school time and you're like, my schedule is too bonkers to want to like even think about cooking. And just like, there's no like obligation or anything. You could just like order a week's worth of meals or go in there and just stack up some frozen meals. So you're like prepared. You know what I mean? It just makes life so much easier. And like for me, it just opened so much like bandwidth in my brain that I'm like, I don't have to think about this. Like I'm making good, healthy choices and I don't have to cook and I don't have to do dishes and I don't have to think about it. So that's been really great. And also just like, even though I haven't been working with her as my coach, like Sarah and Team Fit With Me, like they're also great too. Or Sarah was just really understanding of like, listen, I'm just not in this space right now. Like I'm going through this stuff and thinking about really honing in on like just the stuff I was talking about of being really focused on those sorts of goals, like is just not the priority at the moment. The priority at the moment was survival. And I'm like, I got to do what I got to do. Like, I know my health is really important. But, you know, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to work with Sarah again. And like Sarah is amazing at help, especially like fat loss goals. So it's like one of those things where I'm like, just like working out and me going to Trilogy, like I want somebody else to tell me what to do. I don't want to think about this. Like Sarah is so great. I'm giving you knowledge and helping you and giving you the tools so you can do this on your own, but also like guiding you along the way. So it's not like you're trying to figure it all out on your own. You know what I mean? Or you're just like watching YouTube videos or Googling everything and getting everyone's advice. Like you got like a point person that's learning you and learning the best things to do for you. And that just also, again, opens up bandwidth in your brain. You got goals, you hire people to help you. You know what I mean? So they've been so great and supportive through everything too. So that's where like in this moment, man, I just want to do more movement. Obviously I'm doing a lot of movement, which is cool. Like I'm really hyped that it doesn't feel like I'm forcing myself to work out at all. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like, oh, or if I miss a workout that I'm beating myself up. I feel just really good. I feel really strong. I was really excited last week at Trilogy. I hit a PR. I did 100-pound dumbbell bench press. And that's the most I've ever done. And that was really cool and exciting. I'm like, dang, that's strong. Like, that's real cool. Where I feel like I'm not in the best shape I've ever been at all. I don't even want to know how much weight that I've gained from the best shape I've ever been, but I've also was like working out 6-7 days a week. Like your girl had a hard body in 2017 and 2018, which I'm glad I had a lot of photos taken then, but they are dated now. If you see a picture of me with big old bangs, that's an old picture. But I'm like, but even at like my most like fittest, I wasn't as strong as I am right now. Isn't that crazy? So it's like, again, like going through those things of like, I want to beat myself up and I'm like, but I'm stronger now and I feel good. And I just like enjoy all the ways that I'm moving and I'm figuring out my food where again, I'm like trying to be, I want to do this in a way that I don't put myself in a spot where I want to become obsessive. You know what I mean? I'm trying like, and that's how I lost 100 pounds, to be honest with you. Like I just made healthier choices. Like I didn't weigh or measure or do anything for years. It just helped me really fine tune my goals later and help me. And I actually really enjoyed it. And I only do it when I really enjoy it. And I go through cycles like anything else. Also, please let me make that point. Everything is seasons and cycles. And if I can tell you anything that I've learned through this whole journey that I've been on my entire life, to be honest with you, but like this specific weight loss, health and fitness journey over the past 11 years, almost 12 years. Oh my God, that like nothing stays the same. Just because you worked out this way and you really loved it doesn't mean that it lasts forever. Or because you ate this way, like you got to keep eating that way forever. That's the thing I've really been struggling with is like looking backwards. That's really jacked me up a lot because through so much of my journey, looking backwards was like, oh, everything I am doing is such a far improvement compared to everything in the past. There was like no looking back at like back in high school, I was a hot babe. Like, no, like, so there was like, I was only like improving. And now in the season of life I'm in, I can look back and be like, oh my God, look how fit I was. Look like how muscular like I was. Like I could just have visible abs like all the time. Like, who was this chick? And so it's hard to not compare yourself to that and be like, oh, well, I got to do what I did then. And I'm like, yeah, homegirl, you're 41 now. I was 35 when I did that. And that does make a difference. I'm not saying that you can just like always just like use age as an excuse, but my body's different then. And my body is going through a significant amount of stress then too. I will also say when I was at the fittest, I was also really good in other aspects of life. Like I was just going to work was like easy peasy. Like I had done that for my entire life, my entire adult life. I had like work was just going so great. Like it wasn't even like a stress thing. And my relationship wasn't super problematic at that point. And so it's like, oh, the rest of my life is kind of going somewhat easy breezy as life is. And so it was so much easier to like put so much energy into really honing in health and fitness. But then when the rest of life starts getting pretty hard, that energy, like you need more energy for that, and it's got to come from somewhere. And that's where the energy came from. Even though as much as I love health and wellness and fitness, obviously I'm still doing this podcast. Like, what is it? When I started in 2018, how many years is that? Again, I told you I don't math. Like, whatever. Been doing it for years. I'm at over 800 episodes. So obviously I care about it and I love it and it's changed my life and it's really important to me. But even with that, energy had to be pulled from this space from me personally to be used in other areas. So I think that when we get into these cycles and we beat ourselves up and we look backwards at what's worked for us before, or I wish I looked like that, or I wish I fit into that dress, or whatever you're getting hung up on, it's like, but life circumstances are not the same in this moment as they were then. And why am I putting the same expectation on myself? That's not okay. And that's not realistic. And that's not going to happen. So it's like, it's so hard, I guess, for me now too, to also be like, I'm in this moment moving forward. Like, what do I do in this moment? Because in the past, like, I wasn't looking backwards. Everything was forward momentum. And that made it so much easier. And now it's like I have this drag on me of, well, what I used to do. And that's where it's like I want to get pulled into, well, just do this and you'll get back there. And I'm like, that's not necessarily true. And also, when I did get there, it also didn't fully set me up to handle really major life events. Like, it got me through some really big life events, but there's just, you know, some that cracked me, and other life events are going to happen. Like, I have no idea what the future is going to bring, but I guarantee you there's going to be some bad stuff in there because life happens. Not being negative, I'm just being real. And I'm like, I need to make sure that, like, I am giving myself a different, perhaps more strong foundation to move through major life events moving forward, because I've learned how to deal with them this way. Does that all make sense? Am I rambling? Probably am. But so that's kind of where I'm at with all of that. So I'd say everything is really good, and I'm so grateful, and I have so much gratitude for everything that I'm learning, everybody in my life. I have like so many, like, just really, really amazing people in my life, and I'm so grateful. And I was even having this discussion about like how so many people I know that are in my life I have met because of this podcast, which is so cool. Again, like I created this podcast because I wanted to help other people, but how much it's just really helped me has just been really awesome. So, you know, and I know I've talked about this in previous diary episodes too, of like thinking about stop doing it. That's still on the table for me. We're not there right now, but that's also like that definitely comes up sometimes of, again, just thinking about not looking backwards and moving forwards, and like, where am I in this moment, and where do I want to move into? Who is this next version of me, and how am I growing into her, and what's best for me in this moment versus what am I hanging on to what worked for me in the past? You know what I mean? So those are just discussions that I have with myself pretty much on a daily basis. I really need to have more fun, obviously. So that's where I'm at with all of that stuff. But yeah, things are really good. It's just, yeah, definitely goes in waves, but so does life, right? It's a roller coaster. Do you remember that movie Parenthood? If you haven't seen it, you should totally watch the movie Parenthood, even though it's probably really dated at this point, with Steve Martin and like Rick Moranis and a bunch of other famous people in it. Keanu Reeves is in it. Where the old grandma is talking about life and how it's a roller coaster, and like Steve Martin is like a person that just like hates the roller coaster, but Mary Steenburgen, his wife, is like, yeah, woo, this is super fun. So yeah, I'm just looking at it through that. I don't think life is not a roller coaster for anybody. I don't care how much money you have or whatever else you got going on that we can all perceive as like that person's got it made. Everyone, I mean, it's just life has ups and downs. So it's all about how you move through it and your gratitude through it and the lessons that you learn. And so that's where, you know, things have been a struggle in certain points, but it's all been good. It's all just teaching me so much, and it's helping me grow into the best version of me. So I hope this episode didn't come off as complaining in any way or just like venting. I just wanted to share kind of what I've been going through. But yeah, we'll see where things go. Who knows? Like, again, I'm just enjoying moving my body and nourishing my body and trying to spend more time like nurturing myself. So doing more fun stuff, spending time with friends, having good conversations, and just trying to love life, because you never know, you know, how much of it we got. So enjoy it while we're here, right? Anyway, that's all I have to say right now. So again, as I always say at the end of these diary episodes, whenever it's just me and I'm not interviewing somebody, that I'm so, so, so grateful that you listen to this, especially if you've gotten 45 minutes into this bad boy and you've saddled up for that much of me rambling about myself and crying. I really appreciate it, and I think that's amazing, and I hope it's helpful in some ways, in whatever way it's helpful. I'm really glad for that. And if you ever have any topic that you want to have covered, or a guest, which I have people like reach out and give me guest suggestions, and I have them on, you know, if it makes sense or if I can get a hold of them, and like, that's really great. 'Cause again, content just doesn't happen on its own. You got to search for that stuff sometimes. So, always very grateful for, those, positive suggestions. So again, thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you later.
AmandaValentineBites.com